Today, I get to bring an awesome story to all of you guys. This is Sarah. She's a trained healthcare professional, and she's also the author of Spanish in 60 Days. She went from living paycheck to paycheck to making $30,000 in 1 year off of her side hustle. And so this is going to be her story. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi. Thank you so much, Nate. Thanks for interviewing me. I'm so excited. I always have a fun time talking to you, so I'm really excited for this.
Well, I promise the pleasure is all mine because it means that I get to hear your story, and that's exactly what I want to kick off with. Will you tell me a little
Yeah.
bit just about who you are and how you got started on this journey?
So basically I got started in this journey. It wasn't planned. The writing a book and teaching Spanish was not necessarily planned. But I did want to do something where I could get income, and I've tried different things before, but teaching Spanish was something that stuck, and it was just so authentic to who I am as a Mexican woman. So, immigrant also, I was born in Mexico. So, it was just so authentic and so close to my heart that I'm just so glad I went that route to teach Spanish.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you tried a couple of other things before. Tell
Yeah.
me what led you to start a side hustle regardless of what that side hustle was going to be on top of your main job, which is already so demanding.
Yeah. Um, just basically freedom, financial freedom. I
Mhm.
wanted to have financial freedom. I I know I couldn't get financial freedom working a 9 to 5, regardless of how much money I was making. I just knew it wasn't going to get me to my goal of having financial freedom and creating generational wealth and a legacy. I was not going to get that with my 9 to 5. So I just started researching and really got focused on other ways to make money. And I've tried doing content that was for the girls, like girl advice, beauty and makeup. What else did I try? I tried other niches that they were just not. It was hard for me to make content for them that was original because everybody seemed to be doing it, right? So it was hard for me to really be into it and create a following. So when I started doing Mexican slang, it grew so fast, and the ideas to make Mexican slang or Spanish content just came so natural. And there were just so many in my head, like a million ideas at once. So it was just easy to me to just go with the flow with that. We're doing something else like for the girlies, makeup, beauty. Of course, I had ideas, but they were pretty much ideas that everybody else was already doing. Whereas teaching
Right.
Spanish, Mexican slang was fresh. And I think that's why my channel and my TikTok just grew so much. So when I published my book, I already had my following's trust. They
Yeah.
already knew that that was something that I was serious about. And it's going great. My books are
Yeah, it
selling great.
absolutely sounds like it's been going great. And it also sounds like you found something that was so obvious to you. You're like, of course there's slang in Spanish. Like, and I know all of it because you're a bilingual woman.
Yes.
And to
Yes.
realize like, oh, people love this. People love learning this. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally love learning, I mean, swear words, but also slang in foreign languages. And so I'm
Yeah,
sure that
that's the fun part. That's the fun part because you use it. Like even native speakers and like Mexicans here in the United States, Mexicans in Mexico, the slang is just a level of friendship or connection on another level because you always learn proper Spanish and it's not always used like that. Like my dad's words, you can't find them in the dictionary. You know, his words are slang and they're different. They're conversational words, conversational phrases. And I did not actually know it was as big of a deal as it actually is to for people to learn slang. Once I started posting videos and I got so much feedback, like Thank you for doing this. I've always wondered what that meant. This and that. Now I can conversate better with my coworkers, my friends, my family. That was just, it felt really good. It felt really good that I was doing content that was helping other people. Because as you know, when you're a creator, even though you're doing something that you like, you still want to generate money. Let's get real. You want to
Yeah.
generate money. And I didn't want to be that person that was just doing things to generate money. But I also didn't want to be that person that was just making content and not thinking about
Yeah.
generating money. Right. So to be able to do content and generate money and it all kind of pairs together, it just feels so natural. It just feels so natural. It feels authentic. And I'm just so happy about it.
Yeah. Well, and I want to hear your story as you started building that audience and as you started thinking about writing the book. But first, I would love to know, how do you address slang and the fact that true Spanish is not the Spanish that's taught in books traditionally? How do you
Right.
address that in your book? How is your book different?
Well, my book, I actually have a couple copies. Maybe I'll get them in a little bit. But
Yeah.
I'm so straight to the point, straightforward, straight to the point. I understand that learning Spanish, you can get on the computer and learn Spanish. You can go to classes and learn Spanish. You can take Spanish classes in high schools and learn Spanish. So, and then there's all this grammar rules, all this. I say they're useless grammar rules because they are, they are. But they go so in depth on the rules and the spelling, grammatical, all this and that. Whereas my take is just straight to the point and fun. You know,
Yeah.
if you do want to learn proper Spanish, there is some proper Spanish, proper phrases in the book, but it's more conversational because I know if you wanted to learn proper Spanish, there's so much material that you can use on books, on the website. But for slang, for conversational Spanish, it's so minimal. So I really focus on that aspect. So it's just straight to the point. What is the slang word? How to say it. I put in there how to say it and what it means. I don't go in depth as in the origin of the word or um the grammatical how many times how to spell it and none of that, just straight to the point. I don't want to distract you with all this other stuff because I really want people to learn it and use it. And yeah, that's I think that's different about my book, just sweet, clear, straight to the point.
Well, that's the biggest part. I mean, we don't want to learn what Spanish is. We want to learn how to speak it. Like, it's not, I don't need to know the exact structure. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to
Right.
work. Like, I want to be able to walk into a little bodega or walk into a little store and be able to talk to the cashier. I don't
Yes.
need to have my perfect sentence structure or my perfect grammar.
Right.
I just want to know what words to say.
Exactly. You want to know the word and you want to know how to say it and you want to know what it means.
Yes.
Right? So, and if you like get all these grammar rules about a word or a phrase, you sometimes just get so distracted, so overwhelmed that you forget, you completely forget it when you want to use it.
Yeah.
But if it's clear, and I also did make a Kindle version, an ebook version, for the same reason that if you go to the store, of course, you're never going to be carrying a book. Um, or if you are in school or at a party, it's easy to pull up your phone, get to it, and say it and practice
Yeah.
it. So
Right.
that was the point of my book. Make it fun and straight to the point.
You said that, and we were talking about this a little bit, but you said that you were working on an book version as
Yes.
well. Is that out?
Yes. It's actually right now, it's in the process of getting verified. It takes, I mean, I did not know that there's so many verification processes to making a book. So there's so many verification process. Yes, the my audiobook is completely finished. It's done, which I narrated myself. But it's just in the process of getting verified so it can be published on Audible and iTunes.
I am so excited for that
Me
because it's one thing to read how to pronounce it. It's a whole other thing to hear a native speaker pronounce it. Because then you
Yes.
can play it back, try it over, see how it feels in your mouth and say, "Okay, now I think
Yes.
I have it."
Yes, and that's so true. You said how it feels saying it. That's really important. Like I said before, there's so much material out there to learn Spanish. And a lot of people might know in their like little voice in their head, in their brain, they know it. But then they've never actually opened their mouth, used their mouth muscles to say it. And once you get to the point where you could say it, hear it, practice it, you're going to learn Spanish. That is how somebody learns a language,
Yes.
practicing it with their mouth.
Doing it over and over and over again, but having that starting confidence just makes it that much easier. And
Yeah.
speaking of
Yeah.
confidence,
Yeah.
it took a lot of confidence, or at the very least, a lot of grit to actually take an idea like that and make it a reality. Will you just take
Yeah.
me through the process of what it takes to get a book published? Because I know that you
Yeah.
have it published on Amazon. I also know that you self-published, which is an incredible feat. So take me through
Yeah.
that.
Did. Okay, so my journey when it comes to self-publishing books actually starts back in 2020. So in 2020, I remember I was watching a YouTube video and I came across an ad that was basically telling you how to make a book where you don't need inventory. So I went down the rabbit hole on how to learn teach myself how to do that. Cuz it wasn't the whole thing about like arbitrage. Like everybody
Mhm.
was kind of doing it. Everybody knew the gist of it. If something was trending, within minutes, thousands of sellers were already in the moves to make profit off of it. Right. So it was really competitive to get to that. But books and the KDP, which KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing, which is Amazon's publishing company. I hadn't heard of that, and I found it to be very interesting, and I was just hyper focused on it. So I did about a year research. I actually published about 7 books. They were low content books. I did research
Ooh.
on them, and I decided to go with this type of books because of my research, upcoming trends, which was a calendar, a 2022 calendar. So I think I published it around October, November, end of the year, knowing that people are going to be buying calendars, and then low content books, which is just decorating, nothing too big. There were barely any words. But I think I sold 3 copies. I sold 3 copies. And of course I was frustrated. But I didn't do any marketing on it. And I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell one soul about it. Because I had a fear of judgment. Right. So I had a fear of judgment. I didn't want to tell anyone so they could like judge me or my book. So that's why I only made 3 sales. So that was that. That was that. And then um that didn't work out for me. And I was like, okay, self-publishing book is not for me. That's what I thought at the time. And then after that, I think a couple months happened. So I started my TikTok channel in 2022, like February 2022. And then that's when it took off. And then I didn't write my book till February 2023. So a year after I opened my channel. And then after that, I feel like I just had so much confidence in myself, and I had worked on myself to just get over the fear of judgment, to get over the fear of failure. So I think that also helped with how my book is doing. Just if I'm gonna fail, I accept failure. If I'm gonna fail, I'm okay with it because it's gonna be something that I learned from.
Yeah.
Whether before I was like, I don't want to fail. I need to be perfect. So I was scared of it. But now, my approach to this book was I'm a human. I am not perfect and I'm going to fail. And just being so real with myself really helped me just succeed as a person. and as a businesswoman, so there's been a lot of up and downs, but I think just really getting to know myself in the process um has really helped. I feel like my voice is getting really nervous right now because
It's
I feel like
okay.
I'm just like opening up so much. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but it's just
We
I never. I've had a fear, I've
yeah,
had a fear. So me being this vulnerable, um, I mean, you can hear my voice. It's hard to cover it up, but
yeah.
it's true, and it feels good. It feels good to say it. It feels good to be real.
Well, and everyone has that fear. And it's so it's just so common, especially in our
Yeah.
society where everything is filmed, everything feels so public. It's so easy to feel like you're in front of the public eye when you do something like that. And
Yeah.
so it's no
Yeah.
surprise that when you're like, I'm gonna do this really hard thing that no one else is doing and that no one in my family has done. I
Yeah.
have to take the leap and I have to do it. And so the
Yeah.
fact that you were able to overcome that is amazing. What would
Yeah.
you
And then yeah, when I think about it, when I get in my mind, when I overthink, I always go back to when I first started writing my book. I first started writing my book in November 2022.
Mhm.
And it took me 2 months to finish it. I was hyper focused. Of course, the research that I've done and my experiences, my trial and errors took about 2 years. But since the moment I sat and I was like, I want to make a Spanish learning book that pairs with my presence, my social media presence, that all took 2 months. Of course, it went really fast because I had prior experience, right? I had those books that I published that I only sold 3 copies. Like that itself was experience for me. So I can't say that it was dumb or it was stupid. No, because it gave me so much experience for me to be able to do it again faster in a better way to know where to go, how to do it. So I'm very grateful that I did that. But when I first started writing my book in November 2022, I was at a very low point in my life. And I look back and I was just like, I am so proud of myself that even though I was just at a very low point in my life, I never gave up on myself. I was never like, uh, there's nothing, let's just sit in bed and cry about it. I was always, it was that little me that, I mean, I learned so much after I published my book. I had to take a break to mentally just get better. Um,
Yeah.
but then I look at myself of that little girl that I was in 20, like about a year ago. And she got up and she was like, let's just fucking do it. Let's just fucking, what can I lose? Let's just do it. And I just like, I admire my past self, even though I did things that, I wasn't so proud of or this and that. I look at that part of me and I was like, there she is. I clap
Yeah.
at her, and it makes me feel better. It makes me get out of my head. I'm a human and I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. So just having that grit and having that want to be better and succeed and be a businesswoman was there. So, I mean, round of applause to her.
That is amazing, Sarah, because
Yeah. Thank you.
it's so common to like look at your past self and be like, ugh, I can't believe who I was back then. I was so young, I was so naive. And so
Yeah.
it's so nice to hear that you look back with pride because when you were
Yeah.
in that moment, I mean, you can probably still feel it in your chest. I certainly know that I felt that way when I was starting Hoskin Capital, where
Yeah.
you remember, I mean, I vividly remember sitting under my desk with my head in my hands, like,
Oh, yeah.
how am I ever going to do this? Who in the world would trust me? Who gave me permission to even imagine that I could achieve something like this?
Yeah.
And looking back at that person, I'm like, go get them.
Wow.
I know it hurts, but
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it really shows you a side of you. It shows you a glimpse of your strength and your potential. when you had absolutely no idea. But now, at the time, like, I felt like at the time, in a way, I was um doing my book to distract myself from my emotions because, like I said, I was at a low point in my life. So I was hyper focused on the book to distract myself and not face my emotions. When I got to working on my book, um, I felt happy. I feel my best and I feel whole when I'm creating. When I'm being creative, I feel good. So whenever I got on my laptop, everything was okay. I was happy, right? So I was doing it 24/7 to, get away from facing my emotions. I wouldn't recommend that type of hustle culture to anybody. I wouldn't do it again. I now I have a home office where before it was just in my room. So I was working literally 24/7. I was just in my bed, my laptop, working, 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 working. Now is I prioritize self-love and self-help care, where if I'm in the office, I am gonna work. If I'm in my room, we're not talking about work. It's
Yeah,
me time. It's resting time. And it's really important for me to do this when I write my second book. So I think having the home office was a priority of mine and my sister, because she saw how, I was not the best. I was not at my best. So she saw that. So we made the home office to just have a balance. It's sometimes having a balance it's hard, but I'm glad that I'm finding a balance with work and personal life.
absolutely. And I think you said something that's really important about starting a side hustle or going out and doing something really risky is occasionally you will have those thoughts where you're like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever done. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy because wow, was it painful. Those
Yeah,
moments where you're just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can go forward. Did I make a mistake? And so, for someone who might be in that situation right now, or who might be staring down the risk of starting, what would you tell them about starting their side hustle?
just do. Just
Yeah.
do. Make moves. Accept failure as a form of growth, of learning. If you fail, you will fail. Everybody's gonna fail. I failed more times than anybody could think about. But I take it as either I make a decision where am I gonna do it again, try again, and I know where I've been wrong, or I can just take a turn or redirect my journey. Every
Yeah.
situation is different, so it's okay. It's okay to fail. Just do believe in yourself. Be your biggest fan. Be your biggest fan. And in the process, just remember to be patient and kind to yourself. Don't get I would never promote the hustle culture. I think the hustle culture has been very popular lately, but it's dangerous.
It
Sorry.
is. Yeah.
It's dangerous because it deteriorates it deteriorates you put in your focus too much on something that you forget to live your life. And we only have one life, so you gotta know a balance. But overall, just believe in yourself. I like to move in silence because the only validation that I need is my validation, right? I feel like if I put my moves every single time online, I'm risking getting a comment or seeing something that I don't like, and I shut down, and I don't like that. So I move in silence, and then it's just my validation that I need. But
And
just do.
by the time you've created it, by the time it's actually happened, you're like, yep, I'm ready. I'm going to show this to the world now
Yeah.
because I moved in silence and I built it
Yeah.
up and I know that it's perfect or as close to perfect as it's going to
a-
get. Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people just get so scared, but just do. If you learn something, do it. Do it, do it, do it. If you find that it's not for you, cool. Do it the other thing. Or do it again, but you're in your way. But just make moves. That's will be what I would recommend for anybody trying to start it.
I also know that there are a lot of things about your book that led to its success beyond social media, because you absolutely outsold your following. And you've hit this point where now you're receiving sales from people who have never and will never actually see your face except on the inside cover of the book, maybe. So, what are a
Yeah.
couple of those other things that led to success?
I did do a lot of my research where, I went into that YouTube ad and went down the rabbit hole on how to publish a book. All of that knowledge helped me. My SEO research helped me with my book. My book cover, I found that having a good book cover is a huge part on how many sales you're going to have, because that's the first thing people see when they're trying to buy a book is the book cover. And all those keywords and making videos about my book, and most importantly that it was slang, it wasn't proper Spanish, that helped me. So a lot of little things just came together and just opened the doors to success for me, and I'm very grateful for all of that.
Yeah. It sounds like having a really good book cover, extremely
Yeah.
important. Having um, a catchy title, or a title that makes sense and tells someone exactly what they'll be getting themselves into. And
Yes.
then using that research around SEO, using that research around the process to figure out exactly how to structure the book, but also how to structure the postings of the book, whether that's on Kindle, whether that's on Amazon, whatever that
Yes.
happens to be, saying, this is how I should be describing it, this is how I should be writing those descriptions. All of
Yeah.
those really contributed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Though all of those little things contributed to the success of my book. And now I did all of this research before publishing my book. And I did it a lot of times. I sold, or I tried to sell 7 books. Before that, I only sold 3 copies. But even when I published my Spanish in 60 Days book, I was still learning as I went. I was still making mistakes here, and this is how it should have been done. So the first time you publish a book, there's gonna be little mistakes, and there's so many people that have published a book. It's easy to just go on Quora, YouTube, Reddit, search it up, and you're gonna get your answer. You're gonna get some help. So even though it's the first time you're doing it, so many people have published their books before that it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
So, yes, do your research, get an idea for what you should be doing, get an
Yeah.
understanding, watch the YouTube videos, hang out in the Reddit threads, but don't
Yes.
get stuck in that analysis paralysis where you're like, okay, I have to learn every single thing, otherwise I'm not going to be successful.
Right.
Learn what you
Right.
need, then jump in, then go and do it.
Yeah. And then another thing is there's like browse extensions where you could I use BookBolt. BookBolt was basically you type in a niche and it tells you how good it's doing. The sales
Mhm.
of the biggest sales to the lowest sales, how competitive it is. So it was good for me to have an overboard of, okay, I should expect this, I should expect that, what to price my book compared to all of that, all of the other books, Spanish learning books. Maybe how many pages, and even though I didn't go by their rules 100% because I wanted to make it my own. Like I didn't want them to lay it out for me on how to do it. I still wanted to put some part of who I am and how I wanted to do it in it. But there's some people that write books solely just to make sales. So they use Book Bolt, what's trending, da da da. They send their idea to a ghostwriter. The ghostwriter writes it, and then you publish the book without the person really having a lot of passion for what they're writing.
Yeah.
That's okay with me. That's totally okay with me. But the on the other side is some people write a book that they're very passionate about, but it's not doing so well on Amazon. They're not making a lot of sales, but they're like, I don't care. this is something that I'm passionate about. I want to write something. If it makes sales, great. If it doesn't make that many sales, I don't care. It's something that I'm passionate about. So there's, you can go either way.
There's a trade-off, but it sounds like starting with a passion and then applying the science, that's where you get the best of both worlds. That's where you get the
Yes.
financial success on something that you're passionate about.
Yes. Yes. I think that's the route that I took. Something that I was passionate about that was doing good. I mean, learning a language is always going to be trending, right?
Yeah.
Especially now the Latino community, the Mexican community. A lot of people are starting to want to learn Spanish. They understand the importance of learning Spanish, of learning two languages. So that was a trending topic. So now I have something that I'm passionate about. I have a following, and once I researched on BookBolt, it was trending. It had it's expected to, that niche was expected to do good. So I was just happy. I was happy to find that all that knowledge, um, all those things as I was doing my research.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And it sounds like you had all the
Yeah.
preparation, and then that opportunity came together where everything combined, and you were like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to write a book in 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? When I was writing the book, I didn't anticipate it taking me 2 months because from all the research, they were like, give yourself a year, give yourself 6 months. A year is even too soon to write a book. But that's all I was focusing on. So it went faster than what I thought. But I also think that I got the just like the sparks and the rainbows and all of that because from my research I was like, holy fuck, like this is gonna do good from the data that I'm finding out. It's gonna be do good. So it gave me a huge push to just do it.
Yeah.
So here we go.
And you did. I'm so glad that you did as well. Okay, transitioning a little bit. I know that you are a client of Hoskin Capital, and I could not be more grateful to have someone like you taking part in my company and helping me build something that really helps people
Oh,
like
thank
you
you.
take better care of their money, especially now when they're making way more money than you have in the past and you've had this
Yeah,
breakthrough. But
definitely.
money's a complicated thing,
Yeah.
and it comes with a lot of emotions, and it's a very visceral thing to interact with in general.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that it would be that much more visceral as a woman of color and as a bilingual person in the United States. So would you be willing to tell me, how has that changed the way you approach money and learning about money?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, I do want to thank you for giving me a space to talk about um, being a Mexican woman, being Latina, and money because it kind of sounds like a taboo, like something that has a stigma to it. Like people don't want to talk about money, where money to me should not be something that should be so embarrassing now. It was before I got more smart about money, it was something that was so embarrassing to talk about. Like, oh my God, no, no, no. But now it's like, let's talk about money. Let's talk about actual digits. Let's talk about, you want to know how much I make? I'll tell you how much I make. You want to know how much I spend on making this? I'll tell you the numbers. So I'm very open about it. Now, it took me, I think, talking to you, reading books, watching videos for me to get to that point because growing up yeah, money had a stigma to it. Like you don't want to talk about it. Like it was even rude to ask somebody, how much do you make? I don't think that's personally, I don't think that's rude. I think that it's a question. It's a question. But yeah, growing up, I was never financially literate. You know, I was very financially illiterate. So once I started making money from my book, and I saw that, and I was like, "Oh fuck, what do I do with this?" I didn't know what to do with money. I never got the urge to go buy flashy things, um, but I didn't know what to do with it. And that's when I started doing my research on a financial advisor so they can help me out. But um, it was never something that I knew what to do. Like I always worked for money. From the books and all the knowledge that I learned, I want money to work for me. And I didn't know how to get there. So um just being able to get help and learn from how to invest, where to put my money, even just things like a financial plan was, and seeing my name next to a six-figure net worth, like you did to me,
Yeah.
was like, oh, yes, like this is real. This is going to happen, and some people are just they don't think that they will ever get there, or it's like they could do it, but I can't. Where it shouldn't be like that. It should be like they could do it, so could I. Where
Yes.
millionaires are being millionaires, well, so can I. And my mentality about money had to change for me to start making money.
Yeah.
And I think that was a huge step for me. Having a healthy relationship with money.
When you say that your mindset around money changed, what do you think changed? Like, yes, making money work for you, but when you think about money now, how does the way you think about it change?
The way I think about money now is money is a friend. Money is a friend that's there for me, right? And it's not something that is going to save my life. Money is, I don't put that much um importance to money. But it's also not something that, I don't think money is the root of all evil. I don't see that either. It's not my enemy. It's not my will to live. It's a friend. It's a resource that I can use to get um experiences that I want, to get freedom. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I don't want my alarm to sound off at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm somewhere for 8 hours. That is not freedom to me. That is not freedom to me. Um, so when I started just putting a definite definition to what money is to me, um, it started flowing in. I know it sounds very like superficial, but it started flowing in. It started flowing in, and my relationship with money is so much better now. Especially since I've talked to you. You tell me what to do with my money, where to put it. I see it grow, and I'm like, I'm so calm. I'm so chill. Before it was a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety and money were paired together. Where now, I don't get anxiety. Like if I get something in the mail that I know it's, a bill or something, I could easily open it, see it. Okay, well, I have to do this, and that's it. Before, I wouldn't even open it. That's how much anxiety I would get from it. And it shouldn't be like that. And it shouldn't be like that. And I feel like I felt like that, and a lot of us feel like that from that stigma that nobody talks about money, or money is the root of all evil, or a shame of money. And that is not who I am anymore.
I love that description of money as a friend because
Yeah.
if you relied on a friend for all of your happiness and for all of your fulfillment in life, you already know that friend is gone. That friend is like, no, 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 I am not
Mhm.
taking this much responsibility. But also,
Right.
if you hate that friend more than anything and you ignore that friend and you cut it off and you say, like, nope, I'm not talking to you, I'm not looking at you, I'm not thinking about you, well, they're not exactly going to come calling. They're
You're
not
not going to have
exactly
any
going to come
money.
into
You're
your
not going to have a
life.
friend. Right.
Yeah. And so treating money the same way you would treat a friend, with that respectful distance where you still have ownership of your own happiness and your own emotions. You're not making
Yes.
yourself reliant on that money, but also
Yes.
not actively pushing it away. That's the definition of a healthy relationship with money. Well said.
Yes. Yes. And like I said, it was something that I had to learn, and I'm in my late 20s. So it was something that I had to learn. It's really important for the younger generation to have a healthy relationship with money,
Yes.
or to try and understand what money really means to them. Like I always say, from just learning about who I am, my personal growth, I literally always say I already have everything I could ask for. I have health, I have my family, and I have experiences with them. Um, I have everything, not one thing, and it has nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with money. It's more so just the people that are around me, the experiences, the fact that I can now come from a place of just admiration for life and love. Um, Everything that I want. And money helps me get some experiences. Traveling, I would need money. And I will love to travel the world. Um, Having a nice car, it's not something that I need, but it's something that I want. And me being able to provide that with the help of my friend, money, it works out. It works out. So being very grateful for the things that I have um makes me have even a better relationship with money.
I'm just blown away, Sarah, and I think that your take and your
Thanks.
mindset is just absolutely incredible, as is your story. And
Oh, thanks, Nate. You're
you
so
are
sweet.
an
I mean,
overnight success, but it was a long night, and you had a
yeah.
lot of trials and a lot of
Oh, yeah.
tribulations while you were going through it. But I am so proud to see your success, and I'm so excited to see more of it. But
Yeah.
I gotta know,
Yeah.
how can people find you? How can people find you on social media? And if you would repeat the name of your book one more time, please.
Yeah. Let me bring it. I'll bring it. I have a couple copies of it here. So this is my book, Spanish in 60 Days. There's the Mexican
I
flag.
love
I
it.
had to put my little,
Of
my
course.
little flag. I have to represent. I'm so proud of being Mexican. So you can find me on TikTok as La Cucaracha Sara. And I'm gonna explain that name. I get a lot of questions all the time. Why La Cucaracha? So La Cucaracha Sara translated is Sarah the cockroach. And I came up with that name because it has a ring to it. My mind goes at about 100 miles per hour. I mean, I don't know if you can tell now. I like to talk. So it was just something that came to my mind. It had a ring to it. So, and I went with it. There's no cool backstory to it. It's just La Cucaracha Sara. I feel like Sarah, if I if I went if I went by Sarah as my social media name, I wouldn't have an impact on people. They will forget about it because it's such a common name, right? It's such a common name. I wouldn't leave an impact on most. But once I put La Cucaracha Sara, I feel like that you'll remember that. You'll remember La Cucaracha Sara. So that's where I came up with that name. But yeah, you can find my book. Here it is on Amazon. And you could also find it on my TikTok shop. And I have the Kindle, my ebook also, and then my audiobook,
The
which is coming
audiobook is
out. Not
coming.
yet, but it's coming
I'm
out.
ready. And I'm sure that every single person who sees this will also hear when it is ready, because I will absolutely be announcing it. And
Yeah.
I think that La Cucaracha is actually a fantastic name, because
Thank you.
when I think of a cockroach, I think of the fact that it takes a lot to kill a cockroach.
They're resilient.
They're so resilient. They're going to be the ones who survive nuclear demolition
That's
and
true.
everything like that. And
Not
so,
even an atomic bomb can get rid of a cockroach.
right, they can handle anything. And I feel like that is such a good reflection of who you are, because regardless of what life throws at you,
Yeah.
regardless of what happens, you're just
Yeah.
going to keep going.
I'm always going to come from a place of love, a place of love, forgiveness, and kindness. Um, so yeah, I'm never going to give up. That is unknown to me. I don't accept giving up on myself. I don't think that's fair to me. I don't think anybody should be ever giving up on themselves.
That's not one of the words that's in your book.
Which one?
Giving up.
Oh, no. Giving up it's non-existent. It's non-existent.
Well, Sarah, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for
Well,
joining me today and for sharing
sure.
your story.